Hello there, everybody. We are here in the Vegan World Discord server. We're going to be talking to some folks about what they believe and why they believe it and all that jazz. So I'm joined here with Snow. Chase just happens to be on stage right now, but that's okay. We love Chase. And we're going to have some fun tonight. Snow, got anything to say before we get started?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I was a vegan for a year, so I'm super excited to dive into this and hear what people have to say about it.
Sweet. And before we get started, I just want to say that we're not here to debate. We're not here to preach. We are here simply to explore beliefs, see what you got to say. We'll see how you came to your conclusions, and kind of go from there. So, I know one fellow had his hand up like the entire time here. So, like before we even started the stream, he was like, "Get me on stage." So I'm gonna get this fellow on stage and see what he's got to say. Hello there, Mr. Tupac. How's it going?
It's going pretty feral.
All right, all right. How's your week? How'd your week go? It's Friday, end of the week. How are you feeling about that?
Hate bugs. Because I love bugs.
I think you're
Okay.
cutting out, sir.
A little bit.
I love bugs.
Okay.
All right.
You got anything? You got
What do
anything
you
for
mean?
us?
I just love eating bugs.
Okay.
It's a bit carnage.
Okay, I think we established that. Um, do you have a claim that you would like to explore?
Bugs are not being abused.
Yeah, be nice to bugs. Be nice to bugs. I support it. I find bugs in my house. I pick them up with some tissue paper gently. I usher them out of the house. You know, I take them outside. That's what I do. But we might need to see. I think somebody else had their hand up though. Harness down there. I don't know if they want to put their hand back up, but with the triangle down there, that person had an interesting perspective last time I talked to him.
Okay,
That's
cool.
just me.
Let's do that. What's up, Carnist? How you doing?
Hey, I'm actually not a carnist.
Okay.
I'm a vegan.
Gotcha. I see your name now.
Yeah, it's just a little, little pun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just a little bit tired, so I'm not sure. Are you doing SE or just had some questions?
Yeah, what we're doing here is Street Epistemology. We're talking about a belief you might have and seeing how you came to it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've shared this on your other SC channel before. And I guess I could run it again
Sure. What you
if
got?
you're up for it. Essentially, let me think of a claim. Again, I'm a little bit tired, so my thoughts aren't quite there.
You and me in the same boat, man. It's been a long week.
Yeah, same.
It has been super long.
Yeah, just got back from work, and yeah, it's definitely nice to have the weekend. So I would say, okay, it's gonna be another vegan claim. So if you believe causing unnecessary harm to animals is wrong, then you should be vegan.
Okay. So why do you feel this way?
Why do I feel that way?
Mhm.
I I feel this way because of my empathy towards others. Just as I guess it explores the golden rule, whereas you treat others how you would want to be treated. Um, it takes into consideration that, along with other things.
Is that kind of also the reason you became a vegan?
Yeah, I recognized very late in my life, actually. Well, I don't know. I'm 30 years old when I realized that what actually happens in the animal agriculture industry and how animals are treated, and also have come to the realization that I've just been kind of conditioned to believe that we need to eat animals for some sort of nutrients. And when I realized that it wasn't necessary, then I understood that it was wrong.
I see.
So how has this changed your life, becoming a vegan?
Oh wow, it's changed. It's really changed my life dramatically. Um, well, I would say I'm not only just a vegan, I'm also a vegan activist. So I try to raise awareness about the issue. I try to tell others about it. I didn't really have any vegan or vegetarian friends in my life. It was just a YouTube video that I actually stumbled across, thanks to a YouTube algorithm, that really um, kind of shared the perspective of what veganism is about, and it just convinced me. I didn't have good reason to continue supporting the immense suffering of innocent animals after watching that video. And that's kind of what motivated me, actually. Sorry, I might have gone off the question. Was that? I don't even remember the question, to be honest with you.
The question is how has this
Oh,
affected
yes.
your life?
Sorry about that. Yeah,
It's
so
okay.
it changed my life because um, I've changed my lifestyle, right? Being vegan is a lifestyle change, um, because we try to adhere to as much as practically possible, not to cause unnecessary harm to innocent animals, and that includes not only our diet but also expands into other areas of life, in terms of consumerism, like not um, buying clothing that comes from animals, not going to forms of entertainment that comes from animals, and on top of that, shortly after I became vegan, I became an activist, and I've just it really just gave me a purpose in life, I feel like, to speak out against this injustice. So every opportunity I have, I try to do that. Try to raise awareness, in the hopes that other people can receive this information and change their own behavior to, in the end, benefit the animals that don't have a voice. Of course, they have a voice, but people are not listening, right?
I think what I'm hearing is like the reason you became a vegan was because you have this empathy for all living things, it sounds like. And that's kind of a
No,
part of. No? Okay.
no, not all living
Uh,
things. I
uh,
do understand that there are living things that are not sentient.
okay.
This, I don't extend moral consideration to those things.
Okay. So like bacteria might not be sentient, so that wouldn't count.
Yeah, like
Okay.
bacteria, plants,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, of course.
even some
Yeah.
forms of animals.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of misspoke. I think we're on the same page. All
It's okay.
sentient
Yeah,
living things. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
yeah, because that is a key point because a lot of people come into the server saying, "Oh, well, what about plants?" Um, trying to make the argument that well, like chopping up some broccoli is the same thing as like stabbing a dog or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like moral consideration, which is definitely not the case.
Gotcha. Okay. So you have empathy for all sentient, living things, kind of like the golden rule. And then you became an activist, and this gives you like a sense of purpose in your life.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
It's just given me like a purpose in terms of being what can I say, doing good in the world, right? Because I recycled, and you know, the some things like just the composting and stuff. Like but I didn't feel like I was really doing much. But outside of me just excluding my contribution to these horrible industries, I'm also trying to raise awareness about it. In many different ways, and yeah, that's given me like some sort of purpose. It's given me also a lot of great, amazing friends. I would say vegans are some of the best people that I've actually met in my life. Again, I haven't been vegan since I was 30, and so the relationships that I've made are just much stronger relationships, I would say, and just it seems like there are some crappy vegan people as well, but it just seems that like the people are just I don't know. I don't know how to say it. I feel like I can connect with these people, and I just have a higher level of trust with these people. And
You want to talk
it
about
just
that more? That sounds really interesting. Like
Mhm.
vegans, there's like a higher level of trust. Like they build better communities. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't apply to 100% of vegans, of course not. But I would say,
Right.
that is something.
Okay. Why do you think that's the case?
I think again, this stems back to the understanding of empathy. Like, most people become vegan again because they understand that it's wrong to cause harm to others, right? And with this understanding, I think even on a small scale, like if you understand that causing harm to like, I guess what some people would consider lower forms of life, um, then you could argue that it's going to be harder for them to cause harm to other like higher forms of life, aka humans, right? So I think it's something. And again, I could be wrong. There's other factors, I believe, but it seems to be the case where I can trust vegans a little bit more. But obviously, that like again, there are some bad apples.
I hear
There
you.
are some, yeah.
It sounds like the reason you think this is the case is because vegans have a good understanding of empathy. If there was
Correct.
another community of people, I don't know, maybe a humanists group perhaps, and they had a really good grasp on empathy, do you think that they would build similar communities with high levels of trust?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. That could definitely be the case. Um. But it would. It's. It's really hard to say because this like being vegan is such a fundamental like it's such a core belief,
Mm,
for I would say now it does vary, right? Some people don't hold it as as excuse me, as such a strong belief, but I feel like when we're talking about veganism and not like plant-based diet, right? Because
mhm.
those get confused. And then I feel like, yeah, when we're talking about veganism as in the moral philosophy, then yes. And I know somebody's vegan and not, plant based. I would I would say that because of that being such a strong core belief, that already encompasses like moral consideration of others, right? That's why I tend to trust these people more. And I've
Hmm.
just kind of recognized it, and like it seemed also to be that, like in this community, in the server, we're just a little bit more considerate of others. I mean, I can't speak. I guess I can't generalize. Can't generalize that statement, but it seems to be the case, and it also might be why a lot of people like hanging around in the servers, because there's a lot of crappy servers out there, and it's just horrible people in the servers, right? But people come here, they know it's somewhat of a safe space. I was just thinking about that actually today. I was like, there's a lot of non-vegans that come in here. I wonder why, because they're not vegan, right? Like, but yeah, I think it's like, yeah, you understand. There's like some sort of like, I don't know. It seems like that might be the case, that there's just better people overall.
Could you conceive a community of people who are not vegan but have a similar level of trust and community building niceness?
Yeah, but I would have to try to understand like what that would, um, how that would come about. Yeah, I'm sure that can exist as well.
Okay. And I'm assuming this
Like
now. You can correct.
like
Go. Go.
like I was just gonna say, like I can imagine like if there's like some sort of commune and they're all dependent on each other, and because they're all dependent on each other, dependent on each other's trust, to survive, then yeah, something like that would make sense. They would have higher levels of trust within each other.
If someone is non-vegan and a part of a community, can they still be? Should they still be considered can be considered to have a high level of trust and be a part of like a well caring community, like be that goodness, I guess. I don't know what words to use here, but I think you know what I mean, right?
Would I still have the same level of trust with somebody like that? Is that
Sure.
the question?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Thank you.
I would say yeah. I could potentially have the same level of trust, depending on the personality and what I know of the person. I guess what I'm speaking about is just generally like, if I don't know the people, like I'm, hanging around with a bunch of people, like at a campsite or something like that. I like, which is the thing we do. Like, there's like a vegan camp out where there's like 100, like 80 to 100 people. I have a higher level of trust. Like, sometimes I'll leave my stuff in the tent. Whereas, like, if I didn't know that this entire campsite was vegan, they were all vegans, then I probably wouldn't leave my like valuable stuff in my tent. I would try to lock it up somewhere.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
So
it's
this
like,
just it's interesting to me how you utilize like the aspect of trust with how people are
yeah.
choosing to eat. I don't think I quite understand that.
That's a
Can you explain it?
misunderstanding. Yeah, so that's a misunderstanding what veganism is about. So veganism is not about like what we choose to eat, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a moral philosophy where we're against the use and abuse of animals,
Okay.
when it's unnecessary, right? So like I kind of mentioned earlier, like it's not just a diet. It's not something that we just put into our mouths or exclude from putting into our mouths. It's something we consider across the board of like daily choices, right? In terms of consumerism, because consumerism is, what this is about. We, like, most people haven't become vegan because they don't like how animals taste, right? Like, I loved how meat tasted. It's not why I became vegan. It's because I realized the supply and demand, right, it has an impact. That the fact that when I purchase these products, I am creating the demand, and I am therefore causing or incentivizing at least animals to be tortured and killed when it's unnecessary.
Do you
And that and
do
that's
you
just sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you think that all vegans feel the same about this, or do you think that this is
Yeah.
personal, just
Oh yeah.
individually to you?
If you talk to any vegan in the server, they will tell you that's why they're vegan. No, again, that's why I wanted to make the distinction. There's something called plant-based, right? So people become plant-based, meaning that is a diet. So that's something they, exclude from. They don't put into their bodies because they usually believe it's like going to be beneficial to their health, or they believe that, or it's just icky, like it's gross to them for whatever reason, right? There's no moral dilemma for them. That's what plant-based is. So that's why I wanted to make that separation, because plant-based people, also a lot of times vegetarians, don't consider the other aspects of animal exploitation, right? Like, for example, like rodeos and circuses, zoos, pony rides, all these other forms of animal exploitation. These people usually don't protest that, or in terms of like their consumerism. Wearing animal skins, which is a huge industry in itself, like leather, wool, fur, silk. Excuse me. And then, testing on animals. So like animals are kind of like objectified in our society, and that's what veganism is dismantling. It's not like a diet.
I hear you.
Yeah. So when you understand that, right, and that vegans adhere to these moral values, it's much easier to trust people like that than people that don't adhere to them,
Can someone
knowingly at
use
least.
the label of a vegan and define it differently than you?
The people do it all the time. Yeah, people
Okay.
consider themselves to be vegan, but they're actually plant-based. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else. Snow, do you have anything else you'd like to ask?
Nope.
All right.
That was good. Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it. It gave me a little bit of a
Oh, yeah.
deeper insight, I think, into the vegan movement. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. Appreciate the questions.
Terrific.
Those are good
If-
questions.
how do you think the conversation went?
I think it went good. I never really explored like the trust thing, but now I thought about it in the past, but I haven't really deep dived into it. So, but now that I like reassessed it, it makes sense. It makes sense to me
Okay.
why I have a higher level of trust in vegans.
So you're kind of a little bit more confident that you should
Mhm.
trust vegans more than non-vegans? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think my confidence is about the same.
Okay.
But it just seems like I have a better explanation of it. Thought out.
Okay. Terrific. Okay. Well, we can bring Chase up here since he has his hand up. And that's how
Okay.
this works, guys. If you put your hand up, we'll probably bring you up because nobody else has their hand up. And then we'll talk about something that you think is true, or maybe just something that you feel. Whatever, really. Throw a topic out there. We'll talk about it. What's up, Chase?
Hello there. How we doing?
Doing good, doing good. Hey, we got another person with their hand up.
Cool. I got a claim though.
All right, let's do it.
We might wanna say what street epistemology is and all that first, though, if you want to do that.
Yeah, so what we're doing is called Street Epistemology. It's a dialectic. So what's a dialectic? It's just a way of having a conversation. So we start off by figuring out what we're going to talk about. So it's usually a claim. So it could be like everybody should be vegan. It could be that factory farms are terrible for animals. Something along those lines. And then we ask you about how confident you are. We ask how you arrived at your conclusion. And we did get into questions about, if the reasons that you have, can stand up to certain tests and criteria, lots of stuff like that. And just a little chat.
Yeah, so not a debate, but more of an interview, nice and polite, good stuff.
Exactly.
Are we
So I'll
are we
take-
keeping it strictly to veganism today, or are we opening it up for any claim?
With the lack of hands, I think we'll open it up to any claim.
I love that.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine. And I too am tired. It's been a long day, long week, and all that. But
Us
we'll
too.
muster through it.
What's on your mind, Chase?
Yeah, I think slaughter should be illegal.
Slaughter should be illegal. All right. And how confident are you that this is the case?
99%.
All right. And how do you arrive at 99%?
Slaughter is needless animal cruelty committed simply for taste, pleasure, and habit. Kind of thing.
Okay. If someone were to slaughter an animal, but it not be for taste, pleasure, does that change your confidence at all?
I'll give you this, that you can defend yourself, just like if a human's attacking you, and the only way to defend yourself is, same thing if a bear's attacking you, and you tried your bear mace and it ain't working, so you got to resort to a gun, and therefore so be it.
Gotcha.
Unless you've been
Okay.
like going in there, messing with wild animals, and like maybe, but generally speaking, yeah, if you're just minding your own business and somebody attacks you, try to get out of the situation if you can, but do what you got to do.
Okay. So at least one exception exists. And in this case, your example was self-defense. Okay.
Yeah, and I
Gotcha.
wouldn't really call that slaughter. I'd call that like a killing in self-defense, like as opposed to what we're doing in slaughterhouses of just forcing, um, innocent, gentle animals who mean us no harm, poking and prodding them in there, and etc.
Gotcha. Okay. And why is it not okay to slaughter these innocent animals?
Well, on account of them being innocent, and it being unnecessary, and them wanting to live, them being able to enjoy their lives, and I don't want to take that from them, just like I don't want to take it from anybody if we don't have to. And I see these animals like cows and pigs and chickens. I see them as similar to like little kids who are not as smart as us or as strong as us and can't defend themselves. And I don't want to abuse the power I have over vulnerable beings and turn them into victims.
To me, it sounds, now tell me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. It sounds like you have empathy for these animals because they have a desire to live. And if you're to take that, I guess, go against that desire of these animals, that it sounds like that might cause some sadness for you, perhaps something along those
Yeah,
lines.
for sure. Like I don't like it when others violate my bodily autonomy, and I don't want to violate others' bodily autonomy.
Okay.
I don't want to take their freedom. And even though they're less intelligent and can't maybe conceptualize, like long into the future and like what death is and stuff like that, to the same degree that we can, they can understand life and enjoy it, just like a little kid who's not as smart as us, who can't conceptualize death, or like a severely mentally disabled or brain damaged person who still able to enjoy their life, but they're only as smart as a little kid or a dog or a pig. We treat them with compassion and we protect them. Because it doesn't matter how smart somebody is.
I heard you say bodily autonomy. So what I'm kind of hearing is like you have this, this need to have your own bodily autonomy. You don't want other people doing stuff to you that you don't want, and you kind of
Yeah, I mean,
extend.
they have right. Yeah, but and then I extend it to others. Yeah, but also,
Yeah.
I mean, like if I'm harming somebody, then that's where the line is drawn. You know, if I'm causing needless harm, uh, like because I want people to feel free. I don't want to violate others' freedom. And maybe someone could say, oh, well, you're trying to take away my meat, and so you're violating my freedom. And I'm trying to say, no, you have the right to eat whatever you want. You have the right to do whatever you want, as long as you're not harming others. But when we start abusing humans or abusing animals, we need to change that.
Okay.
Do you think that, I know you had said before that self-defense is kind of your one stipulation to this, but can you think of a different scenario where you might be willing to give a stipulation of violating bodily autonomy?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like I lean more towards utilitarianism. So if if a train's coming down the track, and it's gonna kill one person, or it's gonna kill five people, or it's gonna kill 1,000 people. Like I would, unfortunately have to choose 1,000 people over one person. If suffering is going to come to the same suffering and death is going to come to 1,000 people versus one person, I have to mathematically just be like, well, that's a lot more suffering on that side. So I got to let the suffering happen to the one person. And that sucks because I want to value like individual rights as much as I can. But so it's the same kind of thing with an animal that, if the only way to save 1,000 cows was to kill one cow, then yes, I would kill the cow.
Okay. So I have my next question is that in some of these scenarios, right, where there are people hunting, let's say up in like Arctic areas where there's not a lot of green stuff to be grown, would you give the exception there as well?
Like I'm focused more on areas where people actually have access to plant-based foods. Like developed nations can start banning slaughterhouses and implementing new laws and new regulations, and it's not going to happen overnight. This is going to be a gradual progression that happens. If it happens, it'll be like 10, 20, 30 years and spread from like small progressive cities outwards. But eventually, yeah, there's like if we can help build farms, like indoor vertical farms, or ship food like plant foods out to those people, or help them move to places where they can live and not hurt animals, that might be those might be ideal options rather than killing animals if we don't have to. If there's a way out, we should try to find that way out. But really, I'm not focusing. I think it's like a distraction that a lot of, I mean, I'm not saying you're doing this because I know you're just trying to figure out where there's uh, you know, uh, marginal cases and stuff, and that's fine. But a lot of times people try to use this as oh, you're trying to, oppress this indigenous culture and like colonialism. And like, I'm against colonialism unless you're torturing children or animals. Like, that's not fucking cool, right? You can have your cultures, but not do that stuff, right? Like, there's still the dance, the music, the spices, and all this stuff. There's no need to involve slaughter if you can avoid it, but a lot of places can't avoid it right now, and that's why I'm not focusing on them. I'm focusing on us.
So let's talk about law. In your worldview, let's say everything has panned out the way you wanted it to. What would be a punishment for a person that slaughters an animal?
I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it too much, and I'm not a legal scholar or anything. But we already have laws on the books against animal cruelty that are not enforced enough, and they're not strong enough. And so, yeah, there needs to be something, like I'm also, though, in favor of rehabilitation and therapeutic justice, restorative justice instead of our messed up current prison system. But at the same time, if somebody's out torturing and killing animals for no good reason, just for pleasure, then, yeah, we got to do something to protect the victims. and to send a message to other people that, hey, you can't be doing this stuff.
Okay.
And so this would criminalize eggs and milk as well as meat and leather and fur and zoos. Because all those animals, well, I don't know about zoos so much. That's more of just like a prison-like situation. So, I mean, that would be like outlawed for other reasons as opposed to a banning slaughter act. But it would be part of an animal bill of rights. But yeah, eggs and dairy, like just for all the vegetarians or anybody aspiring towards vegetarianism, it's a waste of time. I wasted a year being a vegetarian, thinking I was doing enough, thinking that that was helping. But eggs and milk are products of extreme animal cruelty, extreme torture and killing of young animals.
So that's very interesting. You said that. An animal bill of rights. What would that look like?
Let me pull out my shirt real quick that's got a little bit of a list on it.
And also,
Oh,
Chase, would this be
yeah.
the best strategy to achieve your goal?
Yeah, eventually I think it has to happen because otherwise people, if there's an incentive, if there's a financial incentive, which I think there to some degree always will be, because there will always be people who don't mind profiting off of and, you know, enslaving and torturing animals. Like they just don't care. And so we got to force them to not be allowed to do that. Just like human rights, there's always going to be murderers and stuff like that.
Is there a step we take before we get to that step? Or do we go straight there?
Well, there's lots of different effective forms of activism. Like right now, I'm not doing that. I'm not lobbying a politician right now. I'm just educating and motivating the people in this room and whoever's watching. And but yeah, there's a lot of different things we can do, and I have helped ban fur in California. It was a $40 million per year industry, the fur industry in California. $40 million per year is how much they made off of sales. And we shut that shit down in 3 years with 300 activists. It started, we first, just a handful of activists approached their local politicians in West Hollywood, a small progressive town known for standing up for gay folks and stuff. And there happened to be a lot of animal lovers on that city council who were like, yeah, fuck fur. And so they banned it. And then we took it to a small group of activists took it to the Berkeley city council, and they banned fur. And then it happened in San Francisco, a big metropolitan city with tourist attractions and retail outlets and all this stuff. Banned it, right? And then Los Angeles got to keep up with the times, and so they banned it as well. And then we took it to the governor, and he signed it, and we banned it in the state of California. And it's now illegal to sell fur. That was just a few years ago. So, and then there's other states and cities that are trying to introduce copycat legislation. So that's a bit different than the meat industry because, banning fur in California, is different than banning meat anywhere, much less nationwide. But you can kind of get an idea of how this stuff would work. But yeah, there could be steps before like trying to ban slaughter. There could be things like there's a group in Berkeley, California that's I don't know if they were successful at this, but they're trying to get the right to rescue animals from distress and exploitation. So, like in the same way that if you see a dog in a hot car with the windows rolled up, you're legally allowed to break that window and rescue that dog. And we think the same does apply and should apply, and thus we're challenging it in court with rescuing any kind of animal. So like cows and pigs and chickens, usually it's birds because they're easier to rescue, because they're smaller, easier to carry. And so going into factory farms and slaughterhouses and rescuing birds and other animals, sometimes it's dogs from labs. So anyway, that's just a glimpse of it. Sorry, I'm real sad. I'm kind of traumatized from being in those places and looking at all that footage, because we've got a lot of it.
Well, Chase, you're following your heart and you're doing the right thing. So just keep doing that, okay?
Okay, I'm all right.
Good. Got to be strong. I appreciate you coming up and telling us more about your belief. I don't
Yeah,
have
I
any
can keep.
questions to you.
I mean, there's a couple other vegans in the chat, like Fallen. I don't think you've interviewed Fallen before. He might have some good perspective. Nicholas Name you have interviewed before, but I don't think Snow has heard his perspective. But you
I
might
think
just want to.
we had Nomad up next, I believe.
Yep, we got
Okay,
Nomad
cool.
next. But yeah, hopefully we'll get through all of them. So I hope so anyways.
Yeah, and I don't want to like leave it like too suddenly. So like I've composed myself again now. So if you do have any other questions, please ask because now's your chance.
I think I got all the questions that I had, and I think Snow expressed the same thing. So we're gonna
Okay,
keep
cool.
this train rolling. Thanks for coming
Okay,
up, though,
sounds good.
Chase.
Thanks for hearing me out.
Thanks, Chase.
Absolutely. Hey,
Okay.
Nomad. You've had your hand
Hello.
up a while.
Hey, yeah. So
Thanks for
I would like to speak about pest control, hunting, and the Texas hog crisis, and whether or not it's correct or not. So yeah, I like how I don't know who put it that way, but it was like some people who don't have access to vegan or otherwise plant-based diets or diets with
that
only
was me.
plant. You did a good job putting that, Snow.
Thank you.
Because we live out in the country, and it is not very. It is a it is a, I want to say, 5 mile trip to a store that has. No, it's way more than 5 miles to a store that actually does have vegan options. And we live out here on our own. We have one chicken. Her name is Becky. She is my pet. And let's see here. We don't have really the resources to continue those trips weekly, because we don't make very much. We don't sell animals. We don't sell anything really. My dad, his job is basically he runs stocks and stuff. But the thing is, all right. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. What does that mean for you? So your
So-
original claim was pest-based hunting. What does that mean?
Okay, so say the Texas hog crisis, we have a huge problem here. Crops are getting destroyed. In some areas, we've had crops ruined because of hogs. They're an invasive species here. I've actually narrowly lost a friend to one. And I've heard some people protect them. I wonder what you guys' standpoint on that is. At the
Here's
end
you
of the
want
day. Go ahead.
you want me to go first?
Sure.
So I myself am not a vegan. However, I understand where you're coming from because I'm originally from Arizona. And in Arizona, we have an issue with coyotes. The same way that you guys would with hogs. So I understand the need for it, and especially as you're stating that, hogs go out and destroy the land that we would grow our vegetables on in order to continue this the vegan based movement that we're experiencing right now. So I would say personally I am pro it, but it needs to be done humanely. That's the
Yes.
key. And I don't even know if that is possible.
It's a cost-effective scenario, because you got to think not many people are supporting that. And it is quite expensive to capture and euthanize. Not only that, but it is very difficult to do such.
What about you,
Mhm.
Pierce? What is your thoughts on it?
I think it's similar to yours. I think ideally, if it could be done without killing them, like that's great. Like move them somewhere else, do something. I don't know that that's feasible or possible. I don't know anything about it really, but that would be ideal. But if that can't be done, you can't have wild animals running around hurting people. Ideally, not crops either. That's not good either.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if harming them is the only
Yeah.
option, then I guess that's the only option. But I'd much prefer a different one.
Yes. The other options would be quite difficult, but I wouldn't say that it's impossible. It would surely be very difficult, though.
So
Mhm.
what would be another option in order to do this more humanely? Like obviously there's the catch and release. Do you think that that's feasible?
I don't know, because catching them and releasing them where? Where are we releasing them? Are we giving our problem to somebody else? Are we not doing anything to solve the problem? Are we spreading the problem? And or is it truly worth it?
So when you say is it truly worth it, what does that mean to you?
It means that at the end of the day, there's hundreds of billions of these things, and they are overpopulating very quickly. Would it just be a better option just to get rid of them in some areas? By killing or other sorts. Would it just be, more of a better option?
What do you think? Like as you sit down and you evaluate that question, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind is mainly is the cost. Okay, do not take offense to this. What goes through my mind is the cost of a 223 versus the cost of exporting said creatures to another area where they're going to be killed or held for a while, because it would definitely be a waiting line scenario where if we're exporting hogs into an area where we're euthanizing, I'm going to start with the euthanizing first. If it's in that sort of area, it would be a waiting line, and it would be hogs or pigs, however you wish to put it, waiting for days and days and days for their execution, which would be like waiting in a prison. If someone was to ask me where I would wish to die, I would wish to die where I liked to be. Say they love, where they are. So I don't know at this point.
Hmm.
Why I decided to ask if it was, or not, what other people would think.
Pierce, do you have anything?
Yeah, I got one last thing.
Yes, sir.
So these hogs do some destructive things. What is
Yes, sir.
what is the most destructive thing that bothers you the most that they do?
The most destructive thing that they do is they root, which is basically where they dig out these huge, they basically clear out and eat a land or like an area, probably I want to say they can clear 100 yards within about maybe a month. And so you got to think, if you're having 100 hogs or more, as in for our case, an estimated over 1,000 in our area, we are losing almost a mile per 3 months if we did not take a offensive.
When you say they root and they dig, are you talking about like crops?
Yes,
Okay.
they root inside the crops, and they just basically dig out a flat spot.
Okay. And when you observe this happening or hear about it or whatever, uh, what's your feelings about it?
It is frustrating. It is evidently kind of sad that they were, imported here years ago, and then what we think happened is that they were imported in years ago, and then they just started inhabiting the area and became invasive because there really isn't natural predators that can take them out. But evidently it's a loss of money, and it's a problem.
Okay.
I have a
So I'm here.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Pierce.
I'm hearing that you feel frustrated, sad when you observe or hear about the hogs doing this. What's the source of? I mean, I know you made the observation, but what's like the underlying reason behind like this frustration and this sadness? I guess there's something a little bit deeper.
Because you got to think, it's like we've been in a scenario where, when we moved here, we were trying to get our stuff to grow, and we first started in a smaller area, and I know how it feels to have it constantly cleared out, and losing money. And, it got to a point where we were choosing between, really choosing between eating or, continuing to keep the home.
Okay.
It was a not really choosing, but it was a very close call. And I know that a lot of other people, or our friends, our neighbors and stuff, how frustrating it is to them having to go out, replant that spot, or all that.
I hear you. Okay. So it sounds like this frustration and sadness, the kind of the underlying piece is kind of this land and these crops seem to support your family financially, and
Yes.
Obviously that affects your well-being, and you want you and your family to be well off.
Yep.
That's what I'm hearing. Does that sound about right? Did I recap that about accurately?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you could ask anyone to do something about this situation, what would it be?
If I was to ask somebody else to take care of our problem, are you asking me what do you think they would do, or
What you would like them to do?
I would really prefer that we didn't really have to kill them. It is very sad, or how it is done, because as somebody who has, evidently it's getting on the back of trucks, and it's the most efficient way is getting on the back of a truck with a gun, and you just drive into a herd of them and let loose. And that is not very humane but it is efficient. I have, you know, attempted to stay off, you know, that kind of stuff. My dad's kind of, you know, letting me do my own thing now and stay away from that, because I've told him, I was like, no, I don't really want to be on the trucks. I'm good. I would rather, you know, stay here. I'd all that, make excuses like I'd rather play my games. But I do know that that's what would happen if I asked somebody else to do so. I would just rather that we didn't have to really mass, you know, literally mass murder them.
Yeah.
Well, you covered. That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask if there was a feasible way to have this done. You know, provided to you. Would you take it? It sounds like the answer
If it
probably.
was feasible, cost effective, and, you know, we're putting them to an area where they're actually supposed to be. Like, you got to think the Burmese python, like, that's not where it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be in Florida or in the Everglades. It was somewhere else originally. If we can put them back where they originally were, the problem would be taken care of by, you know, evidently the natural predators in the area, because that's where they're supposed to be, you know? So yeah, I'd probably take it.
Well, that's all I got.
Okay.
Yep.
Last question. How do you think the conversation went?
I will admit I was a little nervous. So you guys did a great job with you know, tolerating how I word things. I'm sorry that I, you know, word things a little bit strange.
I didn't think so.
You guys, oh, thank you, sir.
Oh.
You did a really good job. You all, or both of you, did a very great job. I think the conversation went well. I've definitely retained a couple of things.
Did you learn more about kind of why you formed your opinion on this matter?
Yes, I really did. After you know, actually getting to say it to somebody who was, you know, not one of my dad's flunkies, that is, you know, all for it. I got a different perspective, so to speak.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much
All right.
for coming up. We'll move on to the next caller.
Okie doke.
Thanks, Nomad. Have a good one.
Hey, Nick. I think we've spoken before, right?
Yeah. What's good? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I think
Oh,
this
that's
is
good to
going
hear.
well, this show. I like it so far.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Just one thing about that other person. I'm gonna put something in the side chat. I'm not sure if I've talked to that person before, but let me put it right now. It seems like people are trying to riz you up, Snow. So the thing I put you up in the side chat, it's like, so I was discussing this issue with regards to the hunting due to overpopulated animals, but specifically about deer with someone, and they mentioned that source that I just put in the side chat, and what they ended up saying in that source was like, look, like, it's way more like cost effective to hunt than to sterilize animals when it comes to deer. And I read through the source, and it actually reached the opposite conclusion, that they cost about the same. Over time, they have more of a upfront cost to sterilize than to hunt, but sterilization ends up being more effective over time than hunting is, because you, like, most people that are just hunting because they want to, like, they generally hunt because they want to eat animals. They don't just go through and like kill every animal that exists around this specific area. And generally, like, whichever method that people are going to use more, like immediately they're going to be like killing off 90% of the population or something like that, or 95%. That's going to be the most effective method. And if you're going to be going around shooting darts to sterilize animals, it could have the potential of having a more immediate fall off, which ends up costing less. So if the goal is specifically only with regards to reducing the population, sterilization could be more effective or just as effective as hunting can be, at least when it comes to these big mammals. Now, when it comes to really small ones like flies, for example, those things can be a little bit trickier.
That's really interesting. That's not something that I have ever read about or thought about too much. And
Yeah, I was
that's
surprised by it
interesting.
too. Yeah, I think the general like vegan position is to use the most nonviolent methods possible, and also like humans are the most overpopulated species on Earth, which is like we're the only one that's causing an extinction event. Like right now, we're going through what's called like the sixth extinction. 50% of the, for example, of the species of amphibians have already been like gone extinct in the last couple hundred years, and that's mainly due to humans. Uh, and not just like with regards to climate change, even though that's a part of it, but like how we're managing land, how we're managing water, how we're like deforesting a lot of places, and so on. So when we talk about overpopulated species, a lot of the reasons that other species are becoming overpopulated comes back to us anyway. So we should be a little careful if we're saying that we should be hunting overpopulated species in case we, you know, apply like a similar mindset towards ourselves, because we end up actually being in that situation as well. Obviously, we're not going to apply that to ourselves, but maybe we'll like understand like, oh, like we have some similarity with the other overpopulated species as well. So we could be a little nicer to them and a little bit more forgiving and compassionate.
Okay. Is that what you'd like to talk about?
No, like I actually came in here to talk about what like would be the best methods for vegan activism, or just
Oh,
activism in
awesome.
general. Yeah, so the like even though like the you guys may like be non-vegans or somewhere else on this whole position, the general opinion for most non-vegans, it'll feel better if someone's nicer about the topic, but I think there's a couple different issues, at least that I have when it comes to I just wanted to just like chat about it for a little bit.
Yeah,
But
sure.
generally speaking, the discussions tend to be around is a nice approach better or like a more mean-spirited approach? Like I personally think that just speaking about it directly um, is has been more effective that I've seen versus not speaking about it at all and trying to lead by being a good example, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. But that said, I mean, there's ways of speaking about something directly that's maybe like they can be extremely mean spirited. That could be using people as seeing people as a means to an end. So that way you're just trying to like tally off check marks, your own personal check marks or something, and the or other issues and so on. But I know you guys do some activism, but especially when it comes to people's beliefs regarding their theological and religious beliefs and how to get their positions to become a little bit more reasoned. So I wonder if I don't know if that's all you guys do, but like that's the things I've seen. I wonder what you guys think would be the best methods of communicating and doing activism in general.
Sure. Just for clarity, I wouldn't really consider myself to be. I guess you're kind of describing maybe an atheist activist. I wouldn't really consider myself. I wouldn't put myself in that group. I don't really want to change anyone's religious beliefs necessarily. I would like people to uh, take a deep dive into the reasons why they formed a belief. I think that is a great thing to do. Sometimes that may result in changing their confidence about a religious belief or any belief.
Mm.
But to answer your question about, what's kind of the best route, I think you were asking essentially, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I would say that street epistemology and nonviolent communication. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort, sometimes a lot of emotional effort, like emotional strain, I guess you could say. But I think that might be the most effective way, or at least one on one, the most effective way. If you post it online, maybe you can reach more people. But I think it's effective because if someone holds a belief, let's say I got a buddy named Today David, and he believes that aliens are real. He believes that Alan, the alien, is a real dude up there. You know, he came to Earth and then he left and told all his alien friends at home. And let's say he believes that because he had a dream that this occurred, and that's why he believes it, because it was such a vivid dream. How could it not be true? If I were to go up to him and say, "Hey, David, aliens aren't real. Nobody's ever observed an alien. Nobody has ever seen one with a telescope. Nobody's ever detected it or found alien DNA on an asteroid or anything. So, dude, like aliens don't exist." I don't think that would shift his confidence, not even a teensy bit. However, if I took a different approach and was like, "Yeah, David, so about this dream, tell me more about it. Like, what's going on?" He tells me the dream. I'm like, okay, if I had a dream that there were these people, these creatures that came up through the ground, and it was real vivid, like, would that make it true? He'd be like, "No, that's crazy, Pierce. What the heck are you talking about?" And I'd be like, "Well, how do you know that your dream, how do you know that that one's true?" And then I just think talking about it in that way is so much more effective than just trying to, give out facts.
Snow, what do you think?
I think that it's important to have consistent data in order to change the minds of the public. I think it's important to have empathy as you're talking to people because, like in certain cases, like what Pierce was saying with Today David, even though there may not be some sort of proof that can consistently prove him wrong, like there's no point in making him feel stupid or dumb for having this belief, but more so with a gentle hand, you kind of guide him. I do think that there are aspects where, the fight is hard and it needs to be done properly. And sometimes that does require force, but I think that should be used as like a last ditch effort. Because I think as humans, we're intelligent enough to understand where change needs to be made. And we need to do that. That's my opinion. If it's going to better society, eventually they'll catch on.
Yeah, that's the well said. There's some things that have been better for society, and it still takes some time for it to catch on. But I do agree that like that could happen. That this would be a good method, what you guys are describing. I mean, this is what you guys do with street epistemology to begin with. So it makes sense that you guys prefer this method. If you guys didn't, that would be weird. That you guys implementing this specific method.
What do you think, Nick? What's the best strategy to invoke change?
So I think like multiple different strategies have worked, right, throughout the past, to different levels of success. I'm just thinking about the civil rights movement. There are people that had different ideas about how to bring about change in that issue on other political issues, and they've had different levels of success. Just the Martin Luther King approach versus the Malcolm X approach versus the Black Panther approach. Like there were different levels of how understanding people were of the people that they believed were oppressing them, how much what their solutions were towards the issue, and also how much buy-in they had from the general public with regards to that specific issue. And with regards to veganism, one of the challenges is that um, even when it comes to the protests that MLK was doing, it's like towards the end of his life, only like 1/3 of people supported him or thought positively of MLK in 1966 when he came out, after he came out against the Vietnam War. Um, so, and we generally, like right now, he has like a 90% approval rating or something along those lines. He has a holiday named after him, but he was an incredibly controversial figure while he was still alive. He got stabbed. He had his house bombed. Um, that he went to jail over 30 times. And it can be difficult to figure out what and for a lot of similar reasons, that not the exact same, of course, but a lot of similar reasons that people don't like vegans today, because he was essentially calling people bad people for their positions. He was saying that you guys are doing something that's unethical. You guys are going against human rights, and you guys are just doing something that goes against. Um, he was essentially telling people that were Christian that they're not Christian if they're, as a pastor, if they hold these beliefs that they hold. It goes against the message of Christ, for example, at least in his interpretation. Uh, so he's essentially calling a lot of people that were like pro segregation like sinners. And this wasn't something that people took like kindly to, and people don't like vegans for similar reasons, that they think that vegans are saying that non-vegans are bad people, that by eating animals, like you're, at least that's one of the main things that gets people very defensive and irritated. So and so I don't know, like I think it can be really difficult to motivate someone to make a positive change towards I don't know, their relationship towards pigs or cows or chickens, um, and not have a, maybe potentially like shame be used as a motivator in the same sense of like, hey, I could do a little bit better or whatnot. At least like just even partly that ends up being there a little bit, and it's hard to like work around it. Like, do you go with it directly and you just call people bad people, or do you just talk about it that there's a lot of other factors involved? Like,
Yeah,
um,
which do you think is the most effective method? So we got like Martin Luther
yeah,
King, which may have been like a nonviolent, peaceful preaching technique, I
hmm
think might be the best
yeah,
way to describe it. And then we have like the Black Panthers, which were a little bit more aggressive, um, a little bit more in your face. And then we have like street epistemology. Which one of those do you think would be the most effective?
well, I don't think the Black Panther thing was effective to begin with. I think that the MLK approach, at least as far as like a big topic, and its record of success, that was pretty effective. The street epistemology, I don't know if I've seen it be used on like a grand scale, unless you have like a bigger method of it being used to invoke policy change. It could be potentially useful on an individual level. Um, but in general, like I think that it's I would probably say the MLK way has had like some successes. But yeah, like the but to ask you guys, like you guys are like I would assume you guys are like non-vegan, right? Like the there's the question of like how would I want to be approached on this topic, and that could be a little bit different than like what would be the method of approach that would be likely for me to get me to change, and that second one, like what would that second one be? And that's probably a good barometer of like what is a good way of someone else communicating about it. And of course, a lot of this stuff is going to be internal, and it can't be coming from like outside in. It's not just going to be someone told me something and that made me change on this, you know?
I love that you're asking yourself these questions. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you could do one thing today to promote your activism, what would it be?
Hmm. I don't know. I've never really thought about like promoting it. I don't know if you mean like just on like Twitter thing or whatever, but or you mean like more like if you could just communicate it to someone.
Yeah, just
Um,
what I feel would make a difference. If you could do one thing today
mhm.
to make a difference, what would it be?
Hmm. Yeah, usually I just talk with people about it, but um, if I had to like focus in on it, it would probably take a little bit of a longer time. But I would think that focusing on legal changes would be a part of it. Just like some specific thing, like Chase was mentioning with regards to like ending for example. Just pick one aspect of the law where there's a lot of shortcoming on it, one thing that's achievable, and just hammer in on it for a year or however long it takes until there's success, and then move on to the next thing. But I don't know if things can change that fast in a day. If we want like things to change in a day, like I think we need a little bit more patience on this because we got the issue's a little bit bigger than the 1 day thing from one person. Even though I wish it was that small, right? The only thing I could think of that could change in like a day would be um the just to like just communicate about it, talk about it. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you did talk about it today, so congratulations. You did your one thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how effective this is, but thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, like Fallen like it seems to want to raise you up about how Buffy is. I'll get off so he can kind of come up and get his and communicate himself a little bit. Thank you guys for talking with me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks,
All right,
Nicholas.
let's hope Fallen behaves himself here.
Shoot.
I don't know why you would assume that I wouldn't behave myself just because I exude like some sort of attraction between like me and someone who I think is very smart and attractive, assuming that profile is them. But anyways, what's up?
What's your claim, Fallen? What you got for us?
Oh, claim? Oh, I could put a few propositions on the table, but I know this is not supposed to be some sort of debate space, so I could put forward something along the lines of vegan diets confer preferable health outcomes to non-vegan diets. I could put forward the proposition that animal rights are a logical extension of human rights, and rejecting animal rights leads to a loss of human rights on anyone's normative views. Hope that's not a mouthful. Is that what you're looking for?
Which one is most important to you? And we'll run down that road.
The second one. The first one's just trivial, like it's just going to bottom out in empirics, which we could just like measure. The second one requires more probing, philosophy, and examination of your interlocutor.
Okay, so what is your philosophy on this?
What's my philosophy?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just like a moral anti-realist, right? When I say something's morally good or bad, that's just for me to say I desire it or I desire against this, right? Like I desire snow. I desire against like whatever dipshits in chat are telling me I can't have snow. Simple.
Okay, so state the claim again.
Yeah, so upon examination of someone's views, I would say that there's an exceedingly high likelihood that animal rights would be a logical extension of human rights. And rejecting animal rights would also be for them to reject human rights, unless they want to form a contradiction, which would make their view incoherent.
Do you want to run with it? Or you want me to run with it?
Oh, I do not have a preference.
I want to hear Snow. Like, I don't want to hear the other, like, Snow is like smart, has a beautiful voice. Like, I want to hear them.
Pierce
So.
is here too. He's great.
He's not exactly my type, though.
He's very smart. Okay, so my question is, why do you feel this is so important to you? Like, how do you feel like this is going to change anything as far as society goes?
Oh, why is it important to me that animals aren't harmed? Or are you asking me why is running the consistency test important?
Why is that animals are not harmed? Let's start there.
Oh, well, for the same reason that it's important to people that like people are not harmed. Like it's just going to bottom out. Like if you're looking for a physical explanation, I just say it bottoms out in like a combination of my genes and how those genes formulated certain structures that interact with the environment and make up who I am. but I think you're looking for something else, right?
I don't quite know what I'm looking for at this point. I'm just kind of
Maybe
trying
you're
to.
looking for me.
Oh boy. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't know where to go with this. Pierce, do you have anything?
Well, look.
Yeah.
I could tell you what my deal is, maybe, because like normally the way I operate is I like to interact with propositions, tell people if I agree or disagree. But let me put forward something. I could just like pedal off the previous conversation. I was hearing some talk about what is and isn't effective at converting people, right? Now, I don't know why people have such strong suspicions on what would and wouldn't be effective with a lack of data to support the claims in question. Like I hear a lot of people say, for example, being harsh or aggressive to people is not going to be effective at making them vegan, even though there's a couple things. The first one is, I don't know what exactly that's based on. Is it just based on some feeling or loose induction that they're making in their head? Or is it some kind of data? Because in the case of data, there's actually data that's loosely related to this subject that would suggest the opposite. But the data is not strong enough for me to make an inference of my own, so I remain agnostic. But I find myself confused when I see other people not being agnostic, you know? And I'd ask the same to both of you. Do you guys actually like take a position that there's some reason why you'd expect it to be less effective at converting people when you're a bit harsh or honest with them?
I would say that I think it boils down to personal experience. I think that I'm a human being, and I think typically other human beings react in similar ways to similar situations. And I know when people have been aggressive to me and treated me poorly in the past about a claim or something along those lines, that I have not changed my mind. I've not, my confidence has remained the same. However, when I've had conversations when people use street epistemology on me, I have changed my confidence. So I think that's a big factor in why I've come to the
All
conclusion
right, I
that I
see.
have.
So basically, you have a certain psychology and you've had certain personal experiences. And because of those experiences you've had, you're extrapolating that to be being likely of other people. And you're saying, therefore, other people might have this experience. I mean, if I were to use the same inference, I'd say I actually have the opposite experience. I like when people are aggressive and honest with me. It means that they actually care about the conversation. It also shows that they're actually really trying to make some certain points, right? Whether someone's aggressive with me or not doesn't seem to matter, just according to the way I don't know, feel or something. Like it's just less of a popularity contest and more just something I take interest in insofar as the content of what they're saying, right? So I don't share those same seemings. And if we just have those two seemings based on some anecdotes, we're at kind of an impasse. And also, I wouldn't use my anecdote to like form some sort of conclusion, right? I'd say maybe it gives me like a 5% leaning. So instead of being agnostic, which is like 50-50, maybe I'm like 55-45, but I'm not going to make like some strong claims or anything. And I'd be surprised if you did.
No,
Based on this
I'm not.
inference.
I'm not 100% confident. Hardly 100% confident about anything. But I'm wondering.
Not 100, but like, I'd say like it'd be reasonable to start making claims if you enter like 80-90% territory type of deal. Like you'd say like, all right, I'm 90% sure about this, right? But like, when you talk about something like this, it's like, I don't know, the inference of like an anecdote of like the way your personal psychology works and extrapolating that onto other people without data is just gonna like bottom out to like something really weak, in my opinion.
You mentioned that it sounds like you've had these types of conversations, these mildly aggressive, at least, conversations quite frequently. Did I suspect
But you
correctly?
have no idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Like I am extremely aggressive. Like I'm just like a fucking fueled with this stuff. Like when I talk to people, I've literally threatened to like sexually assault like people I'm talking to.
Let's
Mostly men.
not say that on YouTube. Let's not say that word. Those words.
YouTube. Oh, you're on YouTube, even better.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the funny thing is, the vast majority of those people that I've like acted towards like that are actually vegan now, and we're close friends now. And they all appreciate that I was like so harsh on them and not slippery with them. I'm not even joking. I could bring like a few of those friends around sometime if you ever want to hit up my VCs. But like, yeah, I'm not saying that that's like indicative of what is effective on the aggregate. I'm just saying that for a non-zero number of people, that seems to be effective and seems to be, according to them, the only thing that would have worked on them, because they had like this pervasive idea of vegans being like soft and feminine. you know?
Okay.
I think that each individual person has a different way of interpreting things. So maybe someone like you need the brute, honest truth. But there's a lot of people out there that if you give them the brute, honest truth, even though it may hold the logic, they may withdraw and not be able to take it in. And it actually sets them back. It's like a
Yeah, I mean,
dog's
look, it's,
corner, right?
yeah. I see. You're so smart, Snow. Because, like, look, I'm not going to disagree that there are different people that will respond differently to the truth. But the interesting thing is, that's just to say you need to like not be completely honest with them, coerce them a little bit, you know, and that's fine. Like, I can understand the utility of that in conversation. Though I don't suspect that there's a greater number of individuals that, with that psychology than any other particular psychology, insofar as how they respond to like whatever my approach is, which, by the way, varies depending on the person. Because, like, look, I'm not like severely autistic to the point where I can't like gauge what the person is like, right?
So then what do you think? So in your opinion, the best way to go about it is to smack people in the face with the truth and hope for the best.
Generally speaking, I think it's best just to be upfront and honest with people. And if there's some deductively valid argument you've presented and they're failing to put up some sort of fight against them, you should constantly let them know. So you failed to rebut the argument. You're not like delivering any formal arguments yourself. You seem to be failing here. You acknowledge that you came into this way too confident. You don't know what you're talking about. And if they're refusing to acknowledge that, then like basically just bully them, as far as I know. Like, because if you don't, it's almost as if to like approve of their behavior, or like approve of their sliminess in the discussion, or like acknowledge them to the point as if like they have put up some sort of defense when they haven't, which makes them feel validated in their beliefs. Again, this is like a very brash way of putting it. It's actually a lot more detailed and nuanced than that, but I'm just giving like a general overview of it, I suppose.
Do you believe that all people have the capability of being intelligent enough to understand what that logic or truth is?
All, like every single one? Definitely not. But certainly the majority of people can understand very fundamental things, like modus ponens, for example, like a deductively valid argument, like if P then Q, P therefore Q. Like they could certainly understand the logical set and why it follows, right? I think that anybody over like some certain IQ range, which is definitely lower than the average IQ, can comprehend that. And so they'd be dishonest to reject that. And in fact, I think with the vast majority, this is like unique to veganism, to be honest, and a few other subjects, but with the vast majority of carnists I would encounter, like they are being dishonest in the discussion, and in no other context would they suddenly be too dumb to understand certain things. And there's also a severe level of cognitive dissonance that you have to break through, because again, like the whole idea, when I'm like, let's say running name the trait on someone, I'm not going to explain that too much, but it's basically just a consistency test, right? The whole idea is to break that cognitive dissonance. Like they have this idea that like there's some reason why, yes, it's okay to Holocaust animals and no, it's not okay to Holocaust humans. But they haven't actually formulated specifically what the concepts are in their head that cause the symmetry breaker between the two. And if they haven't done that, the reasoning could be vague and based on some false empirics, like maybe they just have this weird idea in their head that animals are not really conscious or something. And then we could go through why they actually are. And then they're like, oh, so that's not actually a difference between animals and humans? Oh, that already starts to like make the wall collapse. And then you've got other things that they'll say like, oh, well, it's just about being of the human species. And then you say, oh, okay, well, let's say we have like Vulcans from Star Trek, or like Shmoomins or something, which are basically just like humans, but just have like different base pairs. You okay with killing them? And then they think about it for a second, like, wait, fuck no. Oh, I guess genes are not the thing that matters. So animals don't have that relevant difference. Huh. And then you just start to think about it, and the cognitive dissonance starts to fall apart. By the way, I'm very patient with people in discussion. The only time I'm aggressive is when I could smell the dishonesty on them.
Okay. So let's say there was an alien species that came down and looked at what we were doing currently, right? And let's say they did the same thing. How would you convince them?
Oh, so you're saying like an alien species that came to Earth and started up their own factory farms of like alien cows or something?
Mm-hmm.
Well, assuming I was able to communicate with them and stuff, I probably, and also assuming that their psychology works the same as humans and they're like conscious creatures and not like, I don't know, something else weird. I would probably just be doing the same thing. I would just be running consistency tests on them and asking them if they like kill their own kind. I'd just be like, yeah, do you kill like, let's say the aliens are called like Vulcans. I'd be like, you guys kill other Vulcans for meat? Oh, you don't? But you do for your animals? I mean, okay, so what is it that's true of your animals, which if true of your Vulcans would make you okay with killing your Vulcans? And if they're not even smart enough to comprehend a question like that, I don't know how the fuck they made it to Earth. But like, let's say for some reason they were able to make it to Earth because of like panspermia or something, and not because they were smart enough. Well, then if they're too stupid to understand a question like that, they're probably too stupid to be reasoned with. And then I would just say I'd be in favor of using force if that's available. If they're somehow more powerful than us, despite the fact that they're stupider than us, then I don't know what the fuck I'd do to convince them. Like, I just would say maybe there's not a way to do so, but I wish I would be able to.
That's fair.
You said something really interesting that piqued my interest. You described kind of your technique, and it sounded pretty non-confrontational. It sounded pretty peaceful. And then you said like if you detected dishonesty, then that's like really when you would pour on the aggression or bullying. And I'm kind of wondering why that is the case.
Oh yeah, so when I ask someone to name the trait, it's actually just a question, and it's not a question loaded with any proposition, so it can't be called a loaded question either. The question is simply, what is it that's true of animals, which if true of humans would make you okay with factory farming the humans? Something like that, right? Now,
Gotcha.
there's actually no arguments in there. It's just a question out of curiosity. The confrontation comes in with the nature of the question and what it does. People, and studies show this, but like, I mean, it's pretty obvious to anybody who's interacted with people. People get uncomfortable when you expose contradictions in their views, especially men. There's something about it that's insulting to your identity and especially your masculinity. And when someone names a trait and then you like point out a reductio in which that trait did not seem to be the difference maker, it implies that they're affirming a logical contradiction, which makes their previous espoused identity false, because a contradictory view is in philosophy called a false view. It's one that's uninterpretable. And that's obviously not going to be appreciated, even if it's not coming off with like some ill intent. Like I'll just ask the question, I'll say, oh, okay, well, according to the previous view, that will affirm a contradiction. You can revise the view or you can whatever. And they'll say, well, fuck you, man. You know, it's not like exactly like that, but it's different with every person. But yeah, I mean, the confrontation just comes by nature of the discussion. Like people don't like being probed on their view, because the assumption on my part is that there is a contradiction in terms held by their view. There is a proposition and its negation. And I just assume that's the case with most people based on some priors.
It's so interesting, because I'm just kind of thinking back in my head to all the Street Epistemology videos that I've watched, and these contradictions come up rather often, and a lot of times we do ask about them, right? We inspect them, we get them to think about them, and it rarely does it ever end in confrontation, yelling. It almost always stays pretty peaceful.
Oh, I disagree. I have not had that experience, and the data would suggest otherwise in terms of like pointing out contradictions in people's views. People hate that. They hate it. And I understand why, right?
Have
A
you ever
contradiction
watched?
is
Have you ever watched Street Epistemology videos?
Street Epistemology videos.
Yes.
Is that like a specific YouTube channel, or what are we talking about?
No, Street Epistemology is a way of having conversations. It's kind of what we're doing here. And I mean, I've watched hundreds, and it rarely has ever turned into, something that was confrontational. I mean, it has happened, sure, but it rarely ever does. And I'm wondering why that would be the case.
I have no clue. Maybe their tone is a lot softer. Maybe they're not specifically pointing out contradictions. Maybe they're not ending with the conclusion of, okay, so it's time to go vegan now, according to your view. They're not being straight up with them. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't even know if it's the case that it's not ending in confrontation with these videos. I haven't seen the videos, right? I'll just take your word for it. So, I don't know. Like, I don't really care though, because I don't see confrontation or anger as a bad thing on part of the other person. Like I've gotten into arguments with biologists and this and that before. I've gotten angry before, they've gotten angry, and like the conversations still end up being productive because we always come back with revised data, revised arguments. We're smarter than before, you know. I don't see anger as a bad thing. I think people should embrace it, you know.
Hmm.
But
You
I
think
want to
it
hear
could
from
have
Snow.
been?
No, you're so smart and beautiful. Can you please like say things?
I don't really have anything to say, tell you the truth. I think
Do you
you
disagree with anything I'm saying?
I mean, the only thing that I would disagree with is that no, I don't. I think logic is important, and I think that most people are they react better to logic. I think it's important to put people in uncomfortable situations, but I also feel like there's a time and a place for it. And if you're going to bully someone into logic, then I don't necessarily think that you're always going to win. That's all.
Bully someone into logic? Well, I'm not sure what that would mean, but if you mean bully someone in response to them refusing to acknowledge the deductively valid arguments that have been put forward, I think that that actually is important, because otherwise it reinforces the behavior, the slimy behavior on their part of like just saying, oh, I don't care, whenever someone actually does deploy a deductively valid argument. It shows them that there's consequences, right? Now, I will not bully someone if they're not doing something slimy, because I don't want to like make them feel bad for not doing anything wrong. But I will make them feel bad if they try to pull a red herring, if they commit a category error or something like this, because these are moves that I believe are very likely being done on purpose. Like if, you know,
Does that leave you open to any kind of different interpretation on whatever you're talking about?
if
Like
there's
if
a different,
you
if
go
there's
into thinking that you have all the logic and you're going to utilize the logic in order to bully someone or make them see differently, are you keeping yourself open to a different interpretation?
oh, if there's some different interpretation, I should have known it beforehand, because every time I say something, I'll do a clear semantic analysis, and I will ask them to repeat what I said to them back to me, so I know that they're on the same page, right? And if they're not, then I will not move on from the semantic analysis until I know for a damn fact that they are talking about the same thing that I am. Otherwise, we're literally just talking past each other. So if there's some like different semantic they have of some given word, I'm not going to bully them if they say, oh, actually, I had this different semantic of a word. And I won't even get to the point of using some certain word if I'm skeptical that they have the same understanding as me, right? So that's an issue that won't happen very often. Although there will be some slimy people that'll try to act like we didn't agree on a definition of a word, and we'll take back what they said, and then I like show the recording of them saying some specific thing, saying, oh, well, you defined it like this. This is the concept we're running with. And then they'll be like, oh, fuck you. And then they'll leave, right? So it's like, look, if we're at the point where I just catch them like straight up in a lie, like that person just deserves to be bullied because they're dishonest. But like, as you're saying, if there's like some misinterpretation of something, I'm not going to get on their case if like I made a mistake in understanding their semantics of some given term. I'm going to be like, oh, I should have gained clarity on this. And I used to make that mistake more often, and then I would just apologize. But now I've made for damn sure to get like absolute clarity on the semantics before moving on. That's what I usually do. Does that make sense? No. Also, I'm so sorry for interrupting you like 3 times. There's like a delay in the Discord. I'm going to beat the fucking shit out of myself for that.
No,
How
don't.
dare I?
You're good. No, I get it. I think that there is a place for people like you, and then there's just a different place for people like me. Like I'll never use your tactic in order to get my point across. But I think that we both, as long as we both come to the same conclusion and helping and changing and pushing out logic, that's what matters.
Oh, that's one more thing I should say, actually. As long as we keep like changing. So yes, it is the case that generally speaking, I have the norms towards the world becoming vegan. But specifically when I'm in discussion with people, especially if it's like over the internet on Discord, I'm going to be honest, I don't really have the goal of like changing them and making them vegan. This is going to sound kind of weird, but I just have the goal of destroying them in discussion and making them feel stupid. Now, this might seem like a bad thing, but it's really not, because I don't think I'd be obligated to go on the internet and try to like suck someone's dick for like 20 minutes straight to try to get them to like slightly change their view on something. That's not really something I'm particularly interested in. Now, this of course would be different depending on the person I'm interacting with. If there's someone I'm romantically interested in, then yes, I do have a legitimate interest in like getting them to do some honest introspection on their views, so we could have like more in common, and she could understand me better, I could understand her better, that sort of thing. Or like if it's a family member, you know, all the alike. But if it's like random people, I actually just have the goal of making them realize how stupid they are for confidently espousing nonsense. That's it.
Well, at least you're honest. I wouldn't
Very.
expect anything less. Fall in.
And I'm
Sounds
going to
like
continue to be
you.
honest and saying, I like you, Snow, and I think you're smart, and I think you're cool, and we should totally talk sometime, assuming you're single.
It sounds like you have empathy for like your family members and potential romantic interests.
It's
Why is it the
less
case?
about empathy and more about the importance of like an actual serious conversation with them, like, and the degree of patience I'd have with those types of individuals. Because like, if I have a girlfriend and they're not vegan, that's obviously going to create like a little teeny tiny issue in the relationship. And by teeny tiny, I mean big issue, depending on why they're not vegan. So if it's the case that they're just currently not vegan because they've never thought about it, it's like, that's not an issue. But if they're like staunchly anti-vegan, that's probably going to coincide with a lot of fundamental norms and differences that they have with me. And I might just not like them as a person. And that's something that would need to be hashed out right off the bat.
Okay. And why? And it sounds like you would take a more gentler approach. And why is that the case?
Well, actually, I wouldn't be more gentle. In a way, I'd actually be more harsh, but I just have a lot more patience, and I wouldn't like straight up bully them.
Okay. Why the extra patience?
Oh, just because it's more important. Whereas with some other person, if I'm like slightly less patient and I'm not as rigorous, I don't feel the need to like be like that extra 1000% rigorous for like an extra 1% of gain in the conversation insofar as like extracting honesty from them. It's just like not worth it. The risk to reward is bad. But with like an intimate partner, the risk to reward is worth it.
So it's like you benefit something more from it? That's kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and also I might care about them as a person if I've gotten to know them and like them. And so if they're actually going to benefit, that matters to me too. I mean, I guess you could say it benefits me that it benefits them in a way or whatever.
Okay. So in order for someone to not get the you know, the harshness, you have to care about them first.
In order for someone to get the harshness, no, there's just like varying degrees of harshness. I mean, I'm just using the word to vaguely describe like some category of behaviors that I exude on some certain people. But like,
Yeah, I'm just
look, I like here, let me give you some ostensions to give you some ideas of what the differences might look like. So if like some random carnist comes into a chat and says like, where do vegans get protein? I'm just going to like call them a retard right off the bat, right? Now, if like
why?
I'm with my girlfriend and she says, okay, but like, is there a problem with protein on a vegan diet? Instead of calling her a retard right away, I'll just start by saying, well, funny enough, this question is kind of funny given that there's no actual contention in the scientific community about whether or not there's like some unique struggle of protein with a vegan diet or anything like that. But we could talk about that if you like, right? Oh, hold on.
Well, I think we're going to move on. We're not going to hold on. We got other callers. Yeah. Sorry, man. Yeah, we're just not going to wait. Let's see. Luke. What's up, Luke?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing
Hey,
good.
Luke.
Hey, Snow. Hey, Pierce.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I've I was listening to the guy before. I'm like, yeah, let me jump in. Let's make it different type of. So the question is, why is veganism important to you? And the answer is, it is important for me to understand others' view, but there is something that I dislike when I hear veganism talk. They talk about animals as if they were humans. So I can have the claim that animals do not have human souls, and therefore should be approached differently than humans. There is not the same thing. It's not the same thing than humans.
Can I request a small modification?
Yep.
You said animals do not have human souls.
Correct.
Is there a difference between a human soul and an animal soul?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me what the difference is?
Well, one is for the human, the other is for animal. The difference is from the creator. The creator created things differently. Humans do not look like animals, and they don't have the same properties than animals, and therefore one of those properties is the soul they have. It's a different one.
Okay.
You understand that humans have eyes, like animals have eyes, but maybe not the same numbers of eyes. So some animals have more eyes than humans. There are different eyes. They are not the same eyes. Because why are they different? How are they different? They're different from how they were created. So the animal souls and human souls are different in how they were created. Does that answer
Okay.
your question? Yeah.
Yeah, it did. I'm wondering if like does your claim kind of boil down to animals are not humans? Is that kind of the
Yes.
same thing? Okay. Okay. So
We
that
should
we've
approach them differently. That's the main thing when I say yeah, veganism is important, and I talk to vegan, I feel like the let me type the claim in the chat. There you go. It's like they approach it the same way, as if animal have the same souls than human, and I feel like this is dangerous to not make
Okay,
the difference.
I'm gonna suggest one more little revision, and we'll see if you agree with it. Animals and humans should be treated differently.
Yes.
Okay, that is super clear to me. I understand your claim. Okay, and why is this the case?
Well, the main reason why this is the case is from Revelation. So this is what basically God tell us. They are different, and that's the main reason why they are different. We know the difference between them from the one who created them, or us, whatever, from the creator, and we can observe differences between animals and humans, and we can observe the capacity that we have of projecting ourselves on animals, on objects. How do you call that in English? When you give an object and you say, "I'm sorry" to the table that you just slapped. Like
Yeah, there's a
it's
word for it. I don't remember.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't
So
know. If Luke, if you didn't have this God belief, would you still
yeah.
think animals and humans should be treated differently?
Yes, because of it's hard to know what would happen if I didn't have this God belief. Because would I be raised the same way? Like my parents, would they be believers?
Well,
And I lost the
for
belief.
this hypothetical, let's just say it's like right now, like the God belief went out the window for whatever reason. You
Shit.
don't believe it anymore.
Yeah, I still believe my parents, so I still hold the same view.
Okay.
My parents will teach me that animals and humans are different. Even if they tell me it's God and I don't believe in God, I will still believe that what they said or they taught me was correct. I don't have
Okay.
anything demonstrating that they are the same, like any example or anything that would demonstrate that they are. Well, I know they will never be the same. Well, you understand what I mean by I mean the same. It's not the same, but sufficiently close to be considered using the approach of some vegan people.
Okay. because animals are so different, they should be treated differently. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Like we treat object differently, different size of objects are treated differently. We have our approach to things are different depending on what the thing is. And there is a mistake from the vegan community, for some of the vegan community, which is to give a human soul to an animal soul.
If they didn't really want to give a human soul to an animal, but they had a different reason for thinking that was the case, would you consider other reasons to be valid?
Of course, there are other reasons to be the same. Same what?
Let's say someone says like animals feel pain, and
All right.
they believe that it's morally wrong to cause pain to another sentient being. Would that be a good argument? Bad argument?
It's not a bad argument. I would agree with them that we shouldn't hurt animal without any reason. In the same way that we shouldn't hurt trees without any reason. We could hurt the table without any reason. I can slap the table and I don't feel bad about it. But so trees are the type of souls that I can think. Trees and grass are the type of souls that I believe are the lowest kind, like the least amount of souls. if you want to rate the souls of people of things that have souls, so you can claim that grass have can be hurt is something that you could hold as a claim and demonstrate using whatever measurement tool that you want to measure to prove that they do feel hurt. So I would I agree with you that you could claim that it is hurting the grass when you step on the grass, but grass is made to be stepped on. This is the purpose of grass, and animals have a purpose when they are created the way they are created, and the purpose of animals is to be eaten. Some, not all. Anyway, part of life, circle of life.
When you hear some vegans making kind of like the argument I was talking about earlier, how they don't want to cause pain to other sentient beings, how do you feel when you hear someone say that?
I feel, the feeling is they are approaching animals the same way they approach humans. They are comparing the hurt of animals as the hurt of humans. They would say animals feel pain just like we do. This kind of phrase I hear a lot from some vegan. So I'm like, no, it's not just like we do. It's different than how we do. And it is anthropomorphism. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
Anthropomorphism.
Yes, that is.
Anthropomorphism. Let me type it down so I can have it under my nose whenever I think again. What was the name? So anthropomorphism.
So it sounds like when you hear these arguments, like, am I hearing like a level of frustration?
No, it's not frustrating. It's dangerous. The thing with giving this idea to people that don't know. So you tell them that the dog is as important as their kid, which is really dangerous. Saying that the dog feel the same way that the kid feel, and raise the dog as a human, basically, because of the pain that they receive. I'm like, yeah, no, dogs are not made for that purpose. They are made for another purpose than being raised as a child. A child has a purpose and the dog has a different.
Do you think most vegans would prioritize their dog with the same priority they would their child?
I guess some would. I won't
Mm.
say all vegans, but some.
Okay.
I guess those who have this claim of they feel the same pain that we do, this phrase, uh, uh, would have in view the baby, not the baby, but the dog and the child as the same, hold the same place, you know.
Hmm.
But not the end. They would give paying thresholds to ants that are different than dogs or cats or animals that we know best because we study them more, and they will give them a place that they shouldn't have, which is dangerous. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today. Be aware of this danger of giving human souls to animal souls.
Have you done a lot of research into this? Just out of curiosity.
What do you mean research? What should I?
As far as like pain and the way that different sentient beings experience it.
Yeah, like I said, well, a lot. What's a lot? I researched the pain of grass and trees, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So based on this research, the thing that I know because of revelation and God and whatnot are the lowest kind of souls, the most basic souls, if you want. And I have the research about human pain also that I looked at. I compared the two and realized how much it is different, and animals are in between. Some animals have more pain than others. Yes, I have researched it. I don't think it's a lot, but enough. I think
So
it is enough.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is that based on the amount of pain that a being or non-sentient being experiences, that's what validates or unvalidates us either utilizing it for a specific purpose or not, correct?
No. The amount of pain doesn't shouldn't make us evil. Like it's not because the tree feel less pain that I should hit the tree. I talked about with Pierce earlier. I gave the example of hitting the tree versus hitting the table. You remember that?
Correct.
Yeah. And so yeah, there is more pain received by the tree than the table, right? Because well, the table doesn't have a pain receiver anymore. So it is still bad to hit the tree for fun, right? Or for no reason, just with the purpose of hitting. So yeah, you have to understand why you are doing what you're doing. It is important to respect what whatever have souls. Some object. I don't think there is such respect needed for objects. And let me think about it. Yeah, you have respect for urn, but the reason why you have respect for the urn is because there is something inside the urn, which is human ashes. But you don't have respect for an empty urn. So yeah, that's respect for objects. Inanimate objects are even animate ones. Let's
So
go to robots.
I don't quite understand how you like you're talking about inanimate objects versus like a sentient being. So
Right.
in your mind, there's like a definitive separation, right?
Correct.
So-
Between my dead tree and my live tree, yeah.
So can you tell me where the definitive separation is for you between humans and animals?
Oh, between humans and animals?
Mm-hmm.
It's from birth. Is it before birth? So how do I differentiate a human and an animal? Is that your question? Or another way to formulate your question?
Yeah, like so you said you are not vegan, correct?
Yes, of course. Yes, I am not. No, I retract what I say. Of course, it's not. It's not. You are not aware of me, but yeah, I'm not vegan. Sorry, Snow.
That's
Chris is
okay.
aware, but you're not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is that so for vegans, from what I understand, they see it as all one, sentience, therefore that is the reason why they hold these beliefs. What I'm curious about is for you, where is the definitive line between a human that deserves this kind of consideration that you're providing and an animal which has a different purpose in your mind? At least that's my interpretation. If I'm wrong,
Yes,
please correct me.
that's correct. There is a difference in purpose. So, how do I do? What's the? I don't understand the definition. The line. It's a definition. This is how humans are, and this is how animals are. And how do you differentiate humans and animals? Well, you learn about it from your parents and people.
Pierce, is there a better way to ask this that I'm not?
Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of view humans in one regard and you view animals in another regard. I'm wondering what the difference is between them.
The name and how they look
Name and
and
how they look.
and their purpose.
Why are those things important?
Why is the purpose of something important?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, things without purpose are. Why is it important to know the purpose of things?
Or I guess what
Well,
I'd
so
really
we could
meant.
use them. That's it is important to know the purpose of the thing. So I have a coffee cup which is here to drink coffee on, and I have to know that this is what the coffee cup is for. I need to know the purpose of the thing to be able to use it. If I don't know what a coffee cup does, I don't know how to use it, then it is not useful. So does that answer your question? Why is it important to know the
It did
purpose
answer
of
my
things?
question. I think I meant to ask it in a different way, so that's my
Okay.
fault. That's my fault. So with regards to whether something is useful or not, and keeping in mind humans, animals, plants, inanimate objects like tables, uh, why is the usefulness or how it looks or what the name is, uh, why is that a good way to determine whether we should cause harm to it?
Oh, so causing harm. that's that's should we cause harm, or if possible we shouldn't cause harm? Like the tree, you shouldn't slap it for no reason. So you when you ask why should we cause them harm, I'm like, yeah, it's not something that we should do. Well, yeah, there is a okay. Let me use the example of cancer, and chemotherapy, chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is really painful, and one of the most painful things I think people can think of. And there is a higher purpose. The purpose of chemo is to be cured of cancer. That's the purpose of chemo. So there is pain involved for attaining a purpose that is greater than the pain that you felt. So the same thing should or are applied to things like animals, humans, tables, and trees. Does that answer your
Okay.
question?
Hey, it does answer it. It brings up another question.
Yeah.
So we got chemotherapy, and it causes harm, but ultimately, hopefully, it does something that's good. It helps someone.
Mhm.
Is that kind of similar to like if we were to process a cow for its meat? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
What does
there is
that?
a purpose of the cow.
Okay.
The cow was raised and born with the purpose of being eaten. So yeah, that's the purpose of hurting or suffering of the cow is needed for the greater good, which is humans to survive.
So like the person with who's getting the chemotherapy, from their perspective, like it's probably a good thing, I would think.
Yeah.
What about from the perspective of the cow?
Why would I don't know why would it matter? The
Well,
perspective of the cow. Why would the perspective of the cow
I
would
guess
matter?
I'm trying to compare it in the same way. So if we compare it from the perspective of the human, I'm thinking we should also, from the perspective of the thing who's being harmed, the person in that case, and then in this case it's the cow. I'm just trying to do kind of an equal comparison. At
Oh,
least,
no. The cow doesn't want to be hurt. Or the humans
yeah,
neither, you would say. Yeah. But
right.
the purpose is not the same. Well, it is the same. It's the survival of the human species. But the tool used to survive in chemo is chemo, and in cows is killing the cow to survive. So when you ask from the view of the cow, why is it necessary suffering? Somebody used the term in the chat. I like it, so I'm using it. And there is necessary suffering of the cow from the view of humans. From the view of the cow, we don't have any information.
Hmm. What
Cows
do you
are not able to communicate with us.
if you had to take a guess, what do you think a cow's thoughts would be on it?
Uh, huh. I would. All right. Let's pick something similar. Would be purpose. Achieve a purpose. So you have the purpose of getting your bachelor degree, which is a human purpose that you can understand, and you have suffering involved by studying and those kind of things. You achieve your purpose. What do you feel when you achieve your purpose? You feel greatness, and the purpose of the cow is to be eaten. Greatness is what he would feel. This is what I would answer to the question. Yeah, because of the purpose. The purpose is really important. Why are there cows, or why are there animals in general, and trees and grass and tables and coffee cups?
So this cow is feeling greatness, which not exactly sure what that means, but it sounds like a positive thing.
Yeah, it is
Um,
positive. For the cow,
okay,
it is
like
positive as much as it is positive for us when you achieve the diploma that you have when you
so it
after
like
studying hard.
it bring this process would bring the cow joy.
Yeah, that's because that's his purpose. Yeah.
Okay. So like let's say there's a factory farm and the cows are in line to go into the slaughterhouse, and the cow in the back of the line can see what's going on. He would be feeling joy at that moment, or she, I guess, would be feeling joy.
Once the all right, okay. So there is work when you have the diploma, there is a part before the diploma when you need to study and you need to suffer, quotes, suffer before getting the diploma. So yeah, the running towards the end of the cow is might be painful and not joyful. But once the purpose is achieved, yeah, I don't think I don't see why they wouldn't be joyful because they achieved their purpose.
How do you know that this is the case?
Why do I know that their purpose is to be eaten?
I mean, that's a good question too.
Okay, so that's not the question. So what's the question? Sorry.
How would you know that they would experience joy at that moment?
Oh, because I do this anthropomorphism thing that we feel when we achieve our goals.
And that's the cow's goal?
Yeah, it's to be eaten. Well, at least the cow that I pick as an example. Some cows are to be milked, others are to be free in the wild and whatnot. So, yeah, each animal have his own purpose. But a better example is the dog. The purpose of a dog is to keep you company. And you understand that once he achieved this goal, he is happy. Well, when the dog is not happy is when he cannot achieve his purpose of keeping you company.
How do we know what the goals of animals are?
Yeah, it's it depends on each animal. Like the ant doesn't have the same goal than the dog, doesn't have the same goal than the cow, and between cows we don't have the same goals between them. So yeah, how do we know it depends on which animal we are talking about and when and where the animal is, or the context. That's what I was looking for. It depends on the context. But animals in general, their purpose are known because of God.
Let me ask this question for clarity, because I thought I understood correctly, but maybe I don't. And I want to make sure I understand correctly. Are you saying that cows have a desire to be processed and eaten?
Well, I'm saying that if I were to answer the question, how would they feel, I would need to understand that, yeah, that they do have this intent. But the real answer is I don't know. You remember I said I don't know what they feel because they don't tell me anything. But yeah, if I were to think of it, I would say yeah, that's their goal in life. They are created with that goal, and they are aware of the goal. If a cow could be aware, we are in a hypothetical situation here. It's not real. In reality, we don't know what happens in cows and all other animals.
I think I'll ask you one last question, and I always say that, and then I ask like 6 more.
That's okay.
But then I think I might let Nick come up for just like 5 minutes because he wanted to, and I'll give him a shot to do SE. So with regards to, we'll keep talking about the example of the cow. How could we know if their goal was to be processed and be eaten, or if their goal was just to, I don't know, eat grass, poop, reproduce?
Yeah. How do we know? How could we know, or how do we know? Or
either or. I guess how do we know?
How do we know? I think it's a choice that humans made. We say this cow is made for reproducing, like a bull or whatnot, and humans choose this one to be slaughtered. and it's a choice made from birth, at least, or at one point in their life. They would say, okay, enough eating in the field. Now you go die.
Okay, so humans assign the goals for the animals?
Yeah, of course. Yes, they are the one who created the animal. I mean, in the example of the cow, without humans, this cow wouldn't exist. So yeah, they are the one who are making the goal of the cow they created.
Okay. I could probably go on forever, but I'm kind of out of steam, I'm gonna be honest. Snow,
That's
did you
okay.
want to
Yeah,
ask
it's late.
anything before I let Nick come up for a few
No.
minutes?
I think Nick is probably going to hit this a little bit better than I would. So,
Okay. I'm gonna bring Nick up and then probably gonna have to adjust how this looks. Yeah.
All right, so I brought myself up.
and then
Okay.
real quick before you start, I just wanted to point out we did post the after show party. So after we're done here, feel free to jump over there and give us some feedback and talk to us, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Right
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, Luke. One of the statements that I found interesting that you made is that humans and animals experience pain differently. Could you go dive a little bit deeper into what you mean by that?
Oh, yeah. The ant is an animal, and the rat is another one, and the mice is another one. Those are animals that we studied as humans with science, and we learned that they do feel pain, but not the same way. Like it's not the same nerve that are used, or it's not at the same threshold. The same amount of pressure doesn't give the same pain to those animals. So yeah, it's not the same pain.
How was it different? How in those studies? Because we study a lot. We specifically pick mice to study on because of their similarities to humans. That's why they're used for animal testing often, including their pain sensors. I mean, obviously they have like very key differences, but still. What was the conclusion of those studies you read with regards just to pain and how they experience pain differently?
What the question is, what was the conclusion? Do they feel pain differently? The answer is yes. The conclusion was yes. It is different. We don't know how much. We don't know the amount of pain,
Okay.
but we know it is different because we put the same amount of pressure on the ant's leg, and we put the same amount of pressure on the mouse leg, and they do have a different reaction to the pressure that we put on their legs.
Yeah, but why would that mean that they mechanistically experience pain differently?
Oh, I don't know how you would. How would someone measure pain? Yeah, that's a good question. So the question is, how would someone measure pain? Pain in humans are measured because we are able to ask them, how much pain do you feel? And that's something in the field of medical field that doctors will tell you, we don't know how to measure pain in a human, and we have to ask them, do you feel pain, and how much pain do you feel? Because the machine can give you something, and the guy would say, no, I'm not feeling the pain that you read on your machine. Or the other way around, I do feel more pain than the machine that you are using tell you I am. So based on those things, could we measure the amount of pain animals feel? The answer, I feel, would be no, but we would still be able to know that there is a difference in pain receiving, the way they receive pain, because, well, of the example of the leg that is being pinched.
So because animals don't have the capacity for written language or human language, then we just should assume that they don't experience pain?
What?
I think a better
Um,
question, Nick. I think I know what you're trying to ask. Let me try to rephrase it for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they do feel pain, and I keep telling you that it is a different pain, and they do feel pain. And you ask him, we should tell that they don't feel pain. I'm like, yeah, no,
Well-
we shouldn't tell that they don't feel pain.
Let me try to reward this myself, if it's okay.
Okay.
Just one, and then you come in, Pierce. So when it comes to, there's humans that don't have the capacity for language, like children under 3 years old, and we use different scales to ask them if they feel pain or not, because children under 3 years old get sick and they need to go to the doctor's office. How would we be able to check for humans that don't have the ability to speak language that they experience pain?
The thing with humans, 3 years old humans, is that they have memories, and we can ask them afterwards when they are able to talk. How was it when we treated you, and this kind of thing. So yeah, if they survive, of course. So what we do with children that are babies at the same thing, we do the best that we can with what we have. So memories are tools that are used to understand which one is more painful than the other. For babies, it's harder than for 3 years olds. I agree. Could you ask the question again?
Yeah,
I
it was
forgot
under
actually.
3 years old. Like so it's not specifically about 3-year-olds that have the capacity for memory, right? It's essentially asking them in that moment, not necessarily what happened in the past, right? How much pain are you experiencing right now?
Yeah,
And
they
they
can
have
tell you. Yeah.
they have ways that they've like figured out, right? Obviously, because this is a very big medical need of like figuring out whether a 1-year-old or a 1.5-year-old is in pain. For example, when a newborn infant is born, there's ways of checking if they're under distress or they're experiencing pain, even though they don't have the capacity for human language.
Okay.
So, what would be some of those ways you think that we could tell that a newborn human is in pain?
I don't know. I don't have this kind of information.
Oh. Sorry, Pierce, if you want to hop in, feel free. Like, what would you say? Like, have you been around like newborn humans, like newborn infants, or like very young, like in the first 6 months, an infant? Like, how would you know? How does a mother know that an infant is experiencing pain?
Yeah, the mother children bond kind of thing. I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
Yeah. So,
Myself,
How about
I put myself in the shoes of the baby. So if I see the baby with his hand being pinched by a table or a door, I will know they feel pain because I do feel pain when the door hit my hand. So that's how I would do it for a baby.
could I mention just some of the ways researchers have gone about testing whether animals feel pain? Like this is less of a question, but it would be more like a statement. I don't know if that would defeat the
yeah?
purpose.
I mean, this is going towards a debate, and we
Oh, okay. Yeah.
try to
We could,
avoid
yeah,
that
sorry.
here.
Yeah,
But
totally understand.
yeah, I mean, if you want to take like maybe 10 seconds to say your point, I'll allow it, and then we'll wrap up the show. But yeah,
It's all
I just
good. We
don't.
don't have to.
Okay,
Like, if it goes against the purpose, we don't have to. Thank you. Appreciate it.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think Snow, are you ready to wrap up the show?
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
All right, sweet. And my screen just went funky, but I think we'll just kind of ignore that for the moment. Boy.
I want to say thank you so much for the vegan server for having me and Pierce come in. I really enjoyed doing the show. I respect all of you and how you believe and how you portray yourselves out. It was a pleasure. And yeah, that's all I got for me. What about you, Pierce?
Yeah, I kind of want to echo the same thing. Like, I'm really glad that we had this opportunity. I think it was a lot of fun. I was a little nervous, in all honesty. Like, I thought that might get some people up here, like in a different server that I won't provide the name for, and people might yell at me. I was a little nervous, but that wasn't the case. Everybody was pretty respectful, and I really appreciate that. It was a good time.
So for anybody watching on YouTube, go check out the vegan server. definitely go join if you have questions. If you need a community, it seems like these guys are pretty amazing. So
And with that being said, there is one other community you can join. We will be having an after show in the Compassionate Epistemology Discord server. I posted the link to it in the chat here on Discord and in the chat on YouTube. So you guys can find us there and give us feedback, tell us how the show went. It'll be a lot of fun. But that's pretty much it. So without further ado, that will be the end. Pierce out. That's the wrong button. Darn it. There. No, it keeps switching. Why does it keep switching? Stop.